Welcome to Three Witches and a Druid podcast, a Canadian podcast about paganism in today's modern society.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Three Witches and a Druid, where we sit around and we've got some drinks and we talk about being pagans in the modern world. Beautiful Margot is not with us this episode. She's just had a knee replacement, so she is home recovering.
She's becoming more of a cyborg.
She's more her second knee replacement. It's wonderful. We're so happy for her, and she sends her greetings to everyone. So I am Maeve.
Gwen.
And I'm Brian. So tonight's episode is going to be another part of our series on tools. And tonight we're going to discuss the Cauldron. So, yeah, we were talking just before we hit the record button, because I had to make these two stop talking about cauldrons. What is the significance of a cauldron when it comes to paganism, witchcraft, druidry? For you guys, what does a cauldron represent?
Oh, very often has a feminine aspect to it. I mean, I think of it in how many ways we use it, but if you think about it mythologically, it's things are brewed in it and then are gifted. So we have the story of the birth of Taliesin and everything, and that came out of the cauldron. I'm thinking also Dagda, the Irish god, who that was the cauldron that nobody got hungry, right? You kept feeding people. There's also a cauldron in Celtic mythology where the bodies would go in and then they would come back out. You know, you could die on the battlefield. It was a cauldron of regeneration. But there is that idea of plenty and nourishment and wholeness, but we use it in different ways as a tool, correct?
The whole cauldron of knowledge thing.
The cauldron of knowledge, yeah.
The cauldron of knowledge. I find my cauldron is used very often for burning things.
Yeah,
It's a fire.
But even though it's got that idea of a pot, very often in spell work we use it to contain the fire, don't we?
Yes, we do use it, contain the fire. But I mean, if you stop and think about the tradition, like the cauldron of knowledge or the cauldron of life and all that, if you put your spell in, well, then it will release the spell, the knowledge, the regeneration, whatever the case might be. So I do see it a lot as that. I have more than one cauldron. And if I'm going to be using any kind of liquid or herbs or things, I don't use the same cauldron as my burning cauldron.
And also, if it's something I'm going to consume, it won't be in the one that I may have my wolfsbane in. You never know, a little careful.
Probably not. And this is a hint for everybody out there with kids or grandkids, or you got neighbor kids. I used to make monster spray in my cauldron.
Yes.
For my nephews, I would just use some distilled water, lavender, whatever you do to make up something to put in a spray bottle. And they would be there and we'd have Auntie's cauldron and it was really good and we would mix it and whatnot. So there, and then we would put it in a spray bottle and they would keep it monster spray.
And all the calming herbs and all the relaxation herbs or essential oils you would mix in, and then they would be able to spray that and sleep.
That and sleep. I always just use lavender.
Oh, just the lavender. Perfect. And a little bit of magic. And they would
magic. Yeah, and they would stir and I would stir and Auntie would use her big magic over top of it. And then it would just get put in the spray bottle and the lavender would settle them the heck down and off to sleep they'd go.
Yeah.
Maybe throw a little crystal in it and then put the little mini crystal in the spray bottle, whatever you got to do to get the kids to sleep. Mm-hmm. That's the biggie.
We have, like in our ritual kit, we have a little cauldron for the fire. We don't consider that the cauldron, though. That's just safety.
That's safety.
Yeah.
So in ADF, you need a well.
Yeah.
You need a water source.
We have a cauldron as our portable well. Yeah,
right.
We often use a cauldron in that sense. We also, in ADF, we have, and I tried to look it up here real quick, and I can't think of the name of it. ADF has a well that is passed around amongst the groves to be used as the ADF well. So
kind of like passing the Stanley Cup around?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
It's a cauldron.
And if you knew me, you'd know, where did she grab that reference? Because I haven't watched a hockey game since I was 13.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's relevant at the moment because Edmonton's doing well.
Yeah,
no one else cares.
It's actually in the running.
I used to know so much about hockey through osmosis. Not so much now. But a cauldron, if you have a small cauldron, it's also, again, back to safety. You can put a little sand at the bottom, put your charcoal briquette, and then burn your herbs in it.
That's what I'm saying. We wouldn't call that a cauldron, though. We just call that not burning your house down. Cauldron for us is water.
Is a
liquid of some sort. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I get what you're saying, but I also, cauldron is also a shape for me.
Well, yeah. It doesn't have to be the cauldron you buy off Amazon. Like, we have a lot of Dutch ovens that we use.
Fair enough. So do I.
Yeah.
My big cauldron is a Dutch oven.
Yeah.
That probably came from Canadian. It was my mother-in-law's, and she actually cooked in it over a fire when they would be at their cabin. That was a Dutch oven that came from Canadian Tire.
Now, if you go to the antique stores up at Great Village, like I am this Saturday,
so often,
you can find actual cauldrons.
Yeah. See, I have that one there. Our friend Rhonda got 3 cast iron cauldrons from the antique store in the Great Village area, and I haven't been there whenever there was any there, but there often is, and I'm desperate to go.
Yeah.
Again, to anyone out there who can't find a old-fashioned 100-year-old cauldron, with tools, you can, when you say, oh, you need a bowline, a special knife for anything, it's like, no. Just get your best knife, your favorite knife out of the kitchen. Whatever the case.
Get your favorite Tupperware.
Get your favorite Tupperware. And even if you don't have a cauldron and you're going, oh, what can I do? If you can find like a black bowl, and for any kind of liquids or herbs or things that you might like to use, you can, charge it and cleanse it up to be your cauldron. And if you need to burn something and you have nowhere to do it, if you've got a cast iron frying pan, you can get those at Walmart. You can get a little cast iron dish.
Store.
Or at the Dollarama right now, a little casserole dish. You can get a cast iron casserole dish for $4.50 at the Dollarama, and you can work that up. I mean, people say, dollar store or whatever, but it's still a cast iron frying.
Yep.
It's cast iron, and you can turn it into whatever device you need.
So we're talking about obviously affordable alternatives, but do we feel that the cast iron is an important aspect of a cauldron?
When you're burning things, yes.
Yes.
Or you're heating your water in a fire.
Yeah. But I had said just get a glass, and if it's a black glass bowl.
Okay,
for
so we don't
mixing
feel that the
spells in
cast
it.
iron is a magical component to it.
No, that's just a safety component. For me, it's nice that it's cast iron because it seems really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an aesthetic thing. I don't want to dig too deeply. Depending on your magic, iron might be antithetical to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keeps out the fae.
Yeah. Which, so Mavis ringing her eyes with
no fairies.
cast iron, but yeah.
I have 6 cast iron frying pans. Yes.
One in each corner.
One of my favorite stories about the cauldron is the perpetual stew, or the idea of making a perpetual stew. And that's the idea of having a soup on the stove all of the time. And at the end of the day, you put all the leftover stock from dinners, be it all the vegetables, of course.
Yeah.
Into the stew for the next day.
For the next day.
Yeah.
I will, hats off to the festival that was at Lacey Mines through Aegis last summer. They had an enormous cast iron pot. Your kid, Brian, would have fit in it.
Oh, yeah.
And they made a stew in the fire for the feast.
Yeah.
So that was really nice. That whole stew in the fire.
Yeah, you're right. It would be because the fire would have been going all day probably.
Yeah.
And all night. I, have done that thing often in the summer living out of the garden, but then goes in the fridge because I'm not keeping it hot I'm paying for an electrical fire.
Yeah.
So it goes in the fridge, but I use that same stock to start the next vegetable soup I'm going to make. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the pottage. Yeah, and I think also, so what it's made of, it can be an aesthetic. It could possibly, you might not want to choose a specific something. If you're doing fey work, you might not want to use a cast iron.
Yeah, that's true.
Cauldron. You were saying a glass bowl or something like that. But, like you say, Brian, Tupperware, Rubbermaid, something. You could get something like that if it was only going to hold
like liquid
in it, and heat is not a part of it.
Yes, yeah.
So what
it's the shape.
Yeah, it is. My very first cauldron I bought at Little Mysteries, and it was clay. It was black. It was clay, but it was painted black. Mm-hmm. So it was not really meant to be a lot of fire other than, maybe a charcoal briquette or incense. It was not meant to go on a fire.
Yeah.
Don't feel that you have to go out and spend a fortune on a big cauldron.
But if you do, send us pictures.
Yes.
Send us pictures. Absolutely.
We want to see your oversized cauldron.
Yeah.
That you can cook a child in.
Yeah. So one of the things for the festival last year is Maeve was convincing the children to catch various things out of the lake. And then she was trying to explain to them how she was going to cook them. And then, of course, the kids would kidnap the frog
and
or
bring it to me.
back, and then bring it back to the lake because they didn't want it to be cooked.
No, I would say, they look delicious, but maybe they're missing their mommy or daddy. Maybe The kids are going to be frogs.
On that note, I bring this up because you've mentioned cooking the pheasants several times. They just had their little pheasants.
You are going to have the most delicious things in your deep freeze. Oh. They have a nest on your property.
Yeah, well, the eggs rolled out of the knotweed, yeah.
Nice.
Huh?
They can go in a cauldron.
Yeah.
Oh, delicious. I know you won't do that,
No.
which is disappointing.
No. Mr. Bossman struts across the property quite often.
Well, actually, in that very large, for anybody who's in Nova Scotia or the Halifax metro area, there's a really large Asian store in Bears Lake now, and they have frozen pheasants or partridges you can buy. Little ones. They look like the size of little Cornish hens.
Yeah.
They look very delicious.
So, what in Druidry, the cauldron is the well. It's our connection to the below. In witchcraft, what does the cauldron represent? Is it represent transformation, creativity?
It can be both of those things.
Yeah, I think very often it gets assigned a feminine aspect due to shape, and
Yes.
it's assigned very often to the west with water and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But definitely, transformation that's supported by myth and plenty and manifestation.
Yeah,
and
all of it's those
creativity.
Yeah, it's those
Caradwin's is creativity and stuff.
Caradwin's cauldron, knowledge, that kind of idea.
Yeah.
A lot of people will even, because it's black in color, and that's why I say a black bowl, because it can be used for many things. A lot of people, because it's black, will use their cauldron even for scrying.
Reflective
Because it's black.
surface.
That reflective surface. That's why if you don't have a cauldron and you would like to do, scrying, or you want to mix herbs, you want to mix potions, whatever, black glass bowl will do the trick as well.
Okay.
Do the trick as well. Because again, you don't have to quote and spend a fortune. You're just as good a witch if you don't have the $400 monstrous cauldron.
Yes.
Because who has that? Again, I don't have $400 for a cauldron, but I am grateful that I have my mother-in-law's Dutch oven that I use as a cauldron all the time.
Yeah. See, we got like 5 or 6 cauldrons in our property right now.
Yeah.
We have a big brass one we just painted and turned into a fountain.
Lovely.
We have one, I'm trying to think where they are. And I plan to get one this weekend if we go up to
Do you have a rustic revolution cauldron mug?
Yes, I do. I think we have a couple.
Yeah, I don't know that she makes them anymore. With the 3 little spindly legs.
No, we have
they're
the whole tea set of those.
You have a whole tea set.
Do you?
They
teapot and everything.
Nice. That's living right.
They're very
Very nice.
easy to break.
They are,
Those
I don't
three-
think we've ever actually used them.
Oh,
but they look
I
really
use
nice
mine
on display.
daily until one of the legs, the third leg, got broken off, and I thought I can glue that, but no, it didn't work. So I'm tragically sad about it.
Well, you might be able to, could she add a little platform on the bottom so at least you could keep using
Maybe add a crutch.
Or a crutch, yeah. It's the War Amps cauldron mug.
You are going to hell.
I am.
Luckily, we don't believe in that.
No. But you do what you can. Well, that is our little episode about cauldrons. And you can also, if you don't have one and you're wanting one, and we said there's alternatives, but you know what? You can do a little magic. Call out to whatever deity might suit you. Put a little magic out there for one to come to you. You may find one at a flea market for $10.
That lines up with the next episode topic.
Well,
Here we go.
Well, then, everybody, we will thank you for listening, and we will talk to you all in 2 weeks.
Hello, beloved listeners and patrons of 3 Witches and a Druid podcast. We would like to take a moment to express our heartfelt gratitude for your unwavering support of our podcast. With your encouragement, we have been able to explore and celebrate the rich and diverse world of paganism and spirituality. We feel blessed to have had the opportunity to share our knowledge and experiences with you. As we continue to grow and evolve, we invite you to join us on this journey and become a Patreon member of our podcast. Your contribution will help us to continue creating quality content and provide you with more exciting episodes filled with wisdom, insights, and a little enchantment. By becoming a Patreon member, you will not only support our mission, but you will also have access to exclusive content, behind the scenes goodies, discounts, and much, much more. Together, we can create a thriving and supportive community. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being a part of our 3 Witches and a Druid family. This has been 3 Witches and a Druid podcast. Thanks for listening.